All right, let's just dive right into this explainer and uncover the biological gatekeeper that's secretly editing literally every aspect of the reality you experience. So take a quick second and just look around you right now. You probably think you're experiencing reality exactly as it exists, right? Well, neuroscience tells us a completely different story. At this very second, millions of pieces of sensory information are completely bombarding your nervous system, yet you're only consciously aware of a really tiny fraction of it. Today, we're going to explore exactly why that is and how your brain actually chooses what to show you.
Let's start with a classic everyday phenomenon. Imagine you just bought a brand new red car. The very next day, you drive to work, and suddenly you start seeing red cars everywhere. On the highway, in the parking lot, parked at the grocery store, it's like they're following you. Did thousands of people magically go out and buy red cars overnight? Obviously not. They were always there. Psychologists sometimes call this the frequency illusion. It's the exact same reason expecting parents suddenly see babies in strollers everywhere they go. Your environment hasn't changed one bit. It's fundamentally a shift in your attention.
And you know, this everyday phenomenon leads us to an even bigger, kind of crazy mystery. How does a sleeping brain completely ignore a roaring truck passing right outside the window, but instantly snap awake to the soft, quiet whisper of your own name? I mean, your ears are receiving both sounds, but your brain totally ignores the loud noise and reacts aggressively to the quiet one. How on earth does it know to do that? Well, the answer to both the red car mystery and the whispered name lies in a truly fascinating neural network known as the Reticular Activating System, or the RAS. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, the brain's hidden filter. Second, inside the RAS. Third, consciousness and learning. Fourth, the RAS in mental health. And finally, mastering your attention.
Okay, Section 1. The brain's hidden filter. Let's look at why our brains desperately need this gatekeeper just to survive. So, the absolutely crucial point here is that if you actively processed every single sight, sound, smell, internal bodily signal, and sensation all at once, your brain would instantly crash. You'd experience massive cognitive overload, making thinking, learning, and honestly, even basic decision-making completely impossible. To solve this, evolution developed sensory gating. The reticular activating system acts as your biological bouncer, or maybe think of it like an airport control tower, or even a personalized social media algorithm for your mind. It continuously evaluates all that incoming sensory data and basically asks one simple question: is this important for my survival or my current goals? And if the answer is no, boom, it's filtered out before you even realize it was there.
It's really helpful to contrast the cortex, the sophisticated computer that handles our thinking and reasoning, with the RAS, which is the power supply that actually turns that computer on. You can have the most advanced computer hardware in the world, but without electricity, it's completely useless. Another great analogy is the theater. The cortex is the stage and the actors, representing your thoughts and perceptions. But the RAS is the spotlight operator. And without the spotlight, the actors remain completely invisible in the dark. Moving on to Section 2. Inside the RAS, we're going to physically zoom into the deepest parts of your brain to see where this incredible network actually lives. So the RAS isn't just one single lump of tissue. Deep in your brainstem, spanning the medulla oblongata, the pons, and the midbrain, lies a really diffuse, mesh-like web of neurons. This is called the reticular formation. It's a primitive but incredibly powerful part of the nervous system, and it sits right there at the base of your brain, which is the absolute perfect strategic location to intercept sensory signals traveling up from your spinal cord before they ever reach the higher reasoning centers.
This specific functional network is known as the Ascending Reticular Activating System, or ARAS for short. It's called ascending because its fibers travel upward, projecting outward to the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the limbic system, and all across the cerebral cortex. Its primary job is to shoot excitatory signals up into the cortex to wake it up, maintain your alertness, and basically keep you conscious. When it's time to sleep, this system stops firing and is eventually shut down by inhibitory chemicals like GABA.
But here's the thing. The RAS doesn't just wake you up, it actually directs how you are awake, using different neurochemicals. Think of these neuromodulators as the brain's different playlists, combining sensory input from your ears and eyes with specific chemicals to funnel your attention down very specific paths. Acetylcholine dials up your focus and learning. Dopamine drives motivation and seeking out things outside your immediate reach. Norepinephrine controls high alertness and threat detection. Serotonin promotes a state of calm. And operating quietly in the background, you've got histamine and orexin stabilizing your overall wakefulness and arousal. The RAS expertly mixes these chemicals to shape your precise state of attention. All right, Section 3, Consciousness and Learning. Now that we know the biology, how exactly does the RAS dictate our ability to learn and stay awake?
Get this. Back in the 1940s, researchers made a pretty shocking discovery. They found that animals could have massive damage to their cortex and still remain completely awake. But tiny damage to the brainstem's RAS caused an immediate coma. This proved a massive distinction in how our brains work. The cortex generates your awareness, the actual content of your thoughts and memories, but the RAS generates your arousal. So the cortex might determine what you are conscious of, but the RAS determines whether you are conscious at all.
This totally explains the famous cocktail party effect. Picture it. You're at a loud party, dozens of people are talking, and your brain is successfully filtering out all that auditory noise so you can focus on the person right in front of you. But the second someone 10 feet away mentions your name, bam, your attention snaps right to them. Your RAS was continuously monitoring that background noise unconsciously, recognized the highly relevant piece of information, your name, and instantly spotlighted it for your conscious brain to process. And because the RAS controls that spotlight, it is literally the absolute foundation of memory. So for any students out there watching, the rule is pretty simple. If the RAS doesn't tag information with emotion, novelty, or relevance, it will never become a long-term memory, period. This is exactly why you can effortlessly remember the plot of an exciting movie, but you struggle to recall a dry textbook chapter. The movie engages your amygdala and your RAS through novelty and emotion, effectively yelling at your brain, hey, pay attention, this matters.
Moving right along into Section 4, RAS in mental health. What actually happens when the brain's gatekeeper develops an attentional bias and stops filtering reality objectively?
When the RAS and its chemical playlists become dysregulated, it can lead to some severe attentional biases. For example, in ADHD, it's actually not a lack of attention, but a real struggle to regulate where the RAS directs that spotlight. In anxiety, the RAS becomes hypervigilant, constantly funneling a person's focus toward potential threats. In depression, the filter heavily biases toward negative interpretations and failures, completely ignoring positive data. And in PTSD, the RAS is overly sensitive to any stimuli remotely related to past trauma, triggering really intense arousal at even minor cues.
Finally, we've reached Section 5, Mastering Attention. Let's look at how you can practically apply all this neuroscience to your own goal setting.
We hear a ton in popular culture right now about manifesting, right? The idea that simply thinking about a goal magically draws the universe to you. Well, while popular self-help culture talks about magically manifesting success, science shows us it's actually just your RAS shifting its selective attention to notice opportunities that were always right in front of you. Just like that red car phenomenon we talked about earlier, when you make a goal relevant, your brain suddenly lets the data related to that goal pass right through the filter.
So here's how this builds into an actionable strategy you can use. By deliberately setting an intention before bed or physically writing out a goal, you are actively programming your RAS. You're giving it a new set of instructions. You are creating a template. Your brain aligns its dopamine and acetylcholine systems to start scanning your environment for the resources, the people, and the information that fit that exact template. You aren't creating new resources out of thin air. You're just finally instructing your biological gatekeeper to let them onto the stage.
I really want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. The world around you may not change, but what you notice can change dramatically. The reticular activating system is the brain's gatekeeper, completely deciding what enters your conscious awareness. In so many ways, the reality you experience is shaped not only by the physical world around you, but by what your brain actually chooses to pay attention to. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your attention sharp.